Professor Kethvar had dedicated his entire academic career to studying galactic mythology. Ancient legends, impossible tales, stories so outrageous that even children's entertainment programs wouldn't dare include them. His specialty was debunking the most absurd myths that persisted across civilized space, which was why he was particularly excited about his latest research project, the legend of the Terran Deathworld. "Listen to this," he told his research assistant, Nick Sarah, while projecting ancient text fragments onto his office walls. "According to these tales, there exists a world where the very air is poison to most life forms. The water falls from the sky in destructive torrents, and the ground itself moves and shakes without warning." Nick Sarah's tentacles curled with amusement. "Ridiculous. What's next, Professor?" "Fire that falls upward." "Oh, it gets better." Kethvar scrolled through more fragments. "The legends claim this world is inhabited by creatures so resilient that they actually seek out dangerous situations for something called fun. They supposedly throw themselves from great heights attached only to fabric sheets, dive into crushing depths without breathing apparatus, and deliberately expose themselves to their star's harmful radiation." "Pure fantasy," Nick Sarah laughed, a sound like crystalline chimes. "Even the most basic physics makes such adaptations impossible." Kethvar nodded sagely. "Exactly. But here's the fascinating part. These myths appear independently in over 40 different civilizations' folklore. Same basic elements, same impossible biology, same absurd behaviors. It suggests a common origin point for the legend, probably some ancient cautionary tale about hubris. For months, they collected fragments from across the galaxy. Stories of beings who consumed ethanol, a cleaning solvent, as a recreational beverage. Tales of creatures who engaged in ritual combat for entertainment while others watched and cheered. Myths about entities who kept other predator species as companions in their dwelling spaces. The mythology becomes increasingly elaborate, Kethvar noted during one of their research sessions. "Listen to this passage. The Terrans possess the ability to process information at superhuman speeds, often consuming vast quantities of liquid caffeine to enhance their natural capabilities." Caffeine? Nick Sarah's eye stalks twisted in confusion. "Isn't that the alkaloid compound used in industrial pesticides?" "The very same." Clearly, whoever originated these legends had quite the imagination. Their research took an unexpected turn when Nick Sarah was cross-referencing mythological locations with actual star charts for completeness. It was purely academic. No scholar actually expected legendary locations to correspond to real places. "Professor?" Nick Sarah's voice carried a strange note of uncertainty. "I found something odd." "What is it?" "The star system, the one mentioned in the Terran myths. Sol system, third planet from a yellow star." Nick Sarah's tentacles trembled slightly. "It exists." Kethvar laughed. "Of course it exists, my dear assistant. Most legends are based on real places. I'm sure we'll find it's a perfectly normal Class 2 garden world with some indigenous species that inspired exaggerated tales." But when they pulled up the official galactic survey data, both researchers fell silent. "Classification. Deathworld Class 12. Nick Sarah read aloud, her voice barely a whisper. "Extreme atmospheric toxicity. Violent weather patterns. Tectonic instability. Surface radiation levels. Professor, this matches the legends exactly." That's impossible," Kethvar stammered. "The myths describe intelligent life. Nothing could evolve on a world like that." Nick Sarah's tentacles worked frantically across the data interface. "Professor, there's more. Recent survey data indicates radio transmissions. Structured signals. And there's a note here about attempted contact protocols." "Contact protocols?" "They're trying to communicate with us. The beings from the mythical Deathworld. They call themselves humans." The office fell deadly quiet as both researchers stared at the impossible data. Every ridiculous myth they'd spent months debunking was documented fact. Worse, the survey notes indicated that the inhabitants weren't just surviving their hellish world. They were thriving. "Professor," Nick Sarah whispered, "look at this addendum. It says they've developed space travel. Primitive but functional. And they're looking for other civilizations to make friends with. Kethvar's academic mind struggled to process the implications. The legendary Terrans weren't mythical. They were real. They had survived on a world that would kill most galactic species within hours. And now they were trying to find everyone else. What do we do? Nyxera asked. Kethvar stared at the data for a long moment, then quietly began deleting their research files. We pretend, he said finally, that some myths are better left as legends. But deep in his hearts, he knew it was already too late. Humanity had found them first, and their radio signals were getting stronger every day.